The Punisher, episode 11, Danger Close. So we're moving into the final three, only got 2 more episodes left to go. And in this episode, things really start to come to a head. We have Russo and his people, as well as, the agent. I'm still just going to call him Agent Orange, because every time they say his name, I don't think I should remember his actual name, but he's the villain, so I don't care anyway. But they end up sending, 2 fake NYPD officers to basically kidnap Micro's family. So they get his wife, they get his son, but his daughter is able to escape because she just happened to be upstairs, so she climbs out the window. And so Frank has to go and basically try to rescue them, but Micro ends up being the one finding his daughter because they tell her to go to a certain place. And so Frank basically has to deal with the fact that he knows they're busted now. Like, with everything that's happening, the opening to this episode is him, like, reliving these little moments where Russo is like, like, we're brothers, and it's like, I'm here to help you and stuff like that. And it's like, he betrayed me, so he's having this moment where he's just sitting all night and, up until the morning, just having these flashbacks of this guy that was like a brother to him that he really trusted. So he has to deal with that issue, and he knows that with them being busted, it's like, all right, well, you need to go save your daughter, and, you go talk to her and, find her. I'll stay here because they definitely know where we are. Like, they kidnapped your wife, she has my number, and she doesn't really know me from anyone else. Like, I'm just this random dude who lied, and then suddenly I'm the dead murderer slash the Punisher, Frank Castle. So she doesn't know me anything. Like, they kidnapped her and her son. She will give me up to survive. So, he sends Micro away, and, he's got, he brings back the actual Punisher symbol and everything, which I love the line where Micro's like, oh, that's very subtle, they won't even see you coming. So, he waits for him there, and we have just a crazy sequence of Frank. Like, it starts off simple. He's doing like his ninja thing where he takes people out here and there. He just grabs one person and chokes them. He drops like the rope on somebody else, and then he drops on one side of the pipe, and they just go up, and then they choke to death. And so, they're kind of going through, and then the dude calls Russo. It's like, yeah, nobody's here. Like, we got the phone right here, and there's just like some footage and a timer. And Russo's like, you need to get out of there. Like, he's there. It's definitely a trap. And of course, that's where we see our whole montage kind of coming together, because Frank was putting gunpowder inside of light bulbs. He had like the big, I want to say it's called an M80. He had the M80 like in a box just to ready to lay people down. He had like a shotgun on some pipes, and he was ready to go. And he definitely did. Like, he decapitates a dude, chops his head off, and then puts a grenade on the head and just tosses it into like the little group. And they look at it, and then a huge explosion goes off, and then it's just absolute chaos from there. He's just taking people out left and right. He does take a bunch of hits. I think I mentioned that in my last review. He will always end up surviving because he'll get shot a million times, but he's got his bulletproof vest on, so he'll just keep going, even if they technically don't work that way. Because once a bulletproof vest gets shot once, that's pretty much like all the force and all of its usefulness kind of goes away. Like, it can still technically save you, but it's actually very dangerous to keep using a bulletproof vest after it's been hit once. I guess it applies to both, once in the front and once in the back. But, the part where he kills the dude and then he just it's like he was actually about to die. He was just like, oh, and then he rolls and like he's like totally fine. And of course he keeps going, and he's trying to call out Russo, but of course he's not there. So he sets off all the bombs that he had set up, knocks everybody down. That's when he pulls out the big gun, takes out the last couple of people. The part where he's like shooting up the pillar, that was actually a cool scene. I remember that one from the trailer. And he's just shooting it up, and then he throws the gun down, and the dude's trying to like find him, and he just gets, he of course gets him, and everybody's dead. So he's starting to take masks off like the 2 people, and he's trying to figure out where the family is. It's like, we don't know where they are. I don't know where Russo is. Like, it's need to know. It's like, okay, fair enough. And then of course he kills the last guy, and that was pretty much all there was to it for Frank. It was just like, all right, well, I'll wait till they come here, and then I'll murder them. And that's exactly what he did. So he kind of just did his Punisher thing officially in this episode, which was definitely pretty awesome. I think the rest of this episode definitely focused on, like the DHS and everything going on there with the CIA. And I thought that was actually kind of cool. Like, Dinah is, she brings in a buddy, like her former mentor, and he calls in the new director of the CIA, and they talk to her, and it's like, okay, we know that it's this guy, so, we kind of brought you in to ask you for your help because we need to kind of deal with this, and this is, not just the case, overseas. This still involves stuff that's, actual soldiers dying on American soil. So I thought that was actually kind of cool. They were trying to find a way to be like, hey, it's definitely still within our jurisdiction. It definitely still applies to you. It's not some super old case in a totally different country. It's stuff that's still happening, to this day. And of course, she finds a way to kind of avoid that because she was definitely pissed, but naturally, she kind of learns the truth as things continue on because he admits it by the end of the episode. It was like, we need to deal with this because, it's a lot of we and us. And she's like, yeah, that's not going to be a thing anymore. It's like, you handle this and then you're done because that's just not, that's a bit beyond what I was kind of expecting from you. Like, you went way beyond where I thought you were going to go as far as you get stuff done. But this was just like, too far for her. So I thought she was going to die. Honestly, when she said, as soon as she said, like, you do this and then you're out and, like, you're going to resign and stuff, I was like, oh, she's dead. That was, like, the first thing that came to my mind was, like, he's going to have her killed so that he doesn't have to resign. And he ends up taking over because he's technically already in the deputy director position because of her. So it's like, I think if she dies, he might take over. I, of course, don't know anything about the CIA, so I could be totally wrong about how that would play out. But I was like, I think she shouldn't have said that. Like, with these characters in the show, every time somebody says, like, just, you're done or anything like that, I'm like, well, that person's just going to kill you now, and then they'll take your place. So she could be fine. It's totally possible. And it does seem like he still has enough respect for her not to, like, just go crazy and, like, kill her off. But I really don't know. I mean, he killed off Gunner. He's trying to kill off Frank, of course. So, I mean, if he was killing them off for loose ends, considering obviously she doesn't want that information out there, but I don't know, he doesn't want to go down for it, so why not kill her? Especially after having told her the truth and thinking she would still be on his side, and then she's like, okay, well, now you're going to solve this problem, and you're still not going to be a part of my team. I don't know. I feel like he might still be pissed about that, and he could easily kill her. We have 2 more episodes to go. She could still die. Like, there's definitely time for that, so I don't really know there. But like, she ends up being involved in kind of getting all the answers by the end of this episode. Of course, Russo does his thing with Dinah where he finds a way to avoid, giving any actual answers, and he's, like, there's nothing that they can really do to kind of keep him around or say, like, you're definitely involved in this, because there's nothing that he's going to admit, and there's nothing that she'll admit, because, of course, then it's this whole, crazy little conspiracy thing that she's been following the whole time, so she knows she can't just come out with it until they get all the answers, from both Micro and Frank, like both sides of the truth. So, there's nothing that she could do early on in the episode, and it was just Russo kind of effing with her. So, I'm looking forward to where things are headed, and of course, by the time we get to the end of the episode, Frank does actually end up meeting with Micro as well as Dinah, and is like, I called her to bring her here, and I had to, I was kind of waiting around to make sure she didn't bring anybody with her. So now that the 3 of them are officially working together as a team, I have to imagine somewhere in there is going to be like, all right, well, let's just shoot this over to Karen. Somehow, just as a little bit of insurance, let's get this information out to Karen. But now that they're working together officially, we have 2 more episodes to go. I'm excited to see how this is going to play out. They have decided to work together, because that was a big thing where Frank was pissed at the beginning of the episode with Micro, where he was like, talking about, being betrayed and stuff like that, and Mike was like, we're friends, so it's like, what happens to you, or, like, what I do, you should do. And I was like, oh, okay, so if you betray me, then I should betray you. And it's like, is this about Medina? And it's like, yeah. And of course, Frank was really pissed off, because even though they agreed to go to her, Frank reluctantly agreed, because it was, during a moment where Micro was freaking out about, like, his son needing him and stuff like that, and that's why he agreed. And then Micro still did it without, Frank being with him, so he was still definitely pissed off about it, but definitely came around, by the end of the episode, like, what, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening. I think maybe we should try this both ways. So now they're working together, so that should definitely help them out and make things a little bit easier. But of course, there's still 2 people left to kill, and that just means there's going to be a bunch of random people to kill, before they get to the final 2. But definitely enjoyed this episode. Looking forward to the last 2. Naturally, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. And I definitely want to know where you guys think things are headed now that Frank, Micro, and Dinah are actually working together as a unit. She's going to get the whole truth. And like, I would love to know your theories on how that's going to play out, how quickly it's going to work, and how they're going to try to shut that down. Because I'm sure there's going to be some people, like maybe even the CIA director, depending on how she decides to play it, she might try to, squash it a little bit until she knows it's closer to being resolved. Or she could just be like, you know what, I found out the truth 100% from the man himself, so now I'm, in complete compliance, and maybe she will just be like, okay, I accept all of this, push all the blame on him because technically it is all his fault. And then, she's kind of clean of it all. But I would love to know your theories on how that's going to play out. And like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.